Good morning. Bailey, leave her. Good morning, everyone. Gerald, I'm assuming that you're going to need to be able to share your screen.
Yes, that would be correct.
I'm going to make you the host, but when you're done, you'll have to flip it back to me.
Okay.
And keep an eye out in the waiting room for people trying to join.
Okay. I take that's under participants, or?
It'll show up in the top, like the center of your screen in the top.
Okay. Guess we'll give it a couple more minutes here. Okay, we're going to be getting started here in just a few seconds. Okay, today we're going to be covering, on my end of things, the basics of Google's platform and how it can help you brand your business, generate leads, and things like that. There is 3 separate tools that Google essentially provides for you to manage your business. We're going to be covering the Google My Business side of it here today, which My Business, what it allows you to do is it allows you to share content on Google, provides your contact information. It gives you a platform for your customers to leave reviews. And obviously, as a lot of people use Google, ranking higher in Google is going to help you generate more business. There is also a couple of other things, as I mentioned, there's that we're not going to be covering here today. There is Google AdWords, which is their business advertising platform. With that, you can target certain keywords in certain areas, and you can use Google AdWords to appear on top of search results. So basically, it would give you a presence before they seen anybody else's name. The downside to Google Business is really, or Google AdWords is kind of its starting cost. It can potentially cost about $350 a month for the most basic of AdWords plans. The other thing would be Google Analytics. Google Analytics purpose is to mainly show you how your website or services are performing. It's going to give you detailed metrics on where your visitors are coming in from, how they're coming in, whether it be through Google or through a social network, where they're from, various metrics like that. So right now we're going to get started with the Google My Business. So when you are looking at Google My Business, this is kind of an overview of what I have just sitting in my account right now. But when you first go sign in to Google My Business, you can just simply do a search for Google My Business and Google will lead you the correct direction. If you're not managing any accounts, it's going to encourage you to create a business. If you, and I can kind of show you what the beginning parts of that look like. So when you go to create a business in Google My Business, it's going to collect obviously all the basics. You're going to have to type in your business name. It's going to ask you your phone number. It's going to ask you your address, your hours of operation, things like that. So we're just going to call this test. And then it's going to ask you, for example, your business category. So you can, obviously you can put real estate agent in there. That's probably, for most of you guys, the most appropriate category. And then it's going to ask, do you have a location? Essentially is what it's asking here. Do you have a location where customers can visit you? And in this case, obviously, for most people, that would be yes, at the KW office. And it's going to walk you through every step of the initial setup. I'm going to abandon this part right now so I can cover some of the more core functionality once you get your business entered. Getting your business entered, it's all very straightforward. If anybody has any questions on that, please let me know and I'm happy to help. I just would rather kind of skip to the core content here.
Can I ask you, Gerald, real quickly, did you put agent or agency?
That was real estate agents.
Okay.
So right now I'm pulling up My Business here. And what you can see, this is the overview of once your business is created. So it's going to obviously suggest that you do the paid advertising with Google, give you some credit for doing that. You can view your performance metrics on how your business is doing in Google My Business. This doesn't really give you an overview of your website or anything else. The only thing that this gives you an overview of is how many people searched for something relating to your business and how many people clicked and saw your location in Google Maps. And then when you click on search as an activity, it kind of gives you a further breakdown. So in this case here, you can see customers who found your listing searching for your business name or address. I had 4 there, and and it also gives you the percentage as a whole of the increase that happened versus the previous 28 days. And then it also lets you know that the customers that discovered you searching on Google, not directly typing in your name. So this would be like the people that typed in real estate agent, or in my case, computer repair. This would be the people that typed in Ozark Technology Solutions. And then it also, under activity, will give you a number of, you know, they led 2 people to my website. They directed 2 calls to me. 43 people have viewed my photos. And no one in the last 28 days has requested directions to my business. Now, that's really all for the performance metric side of it. Let's get into where you verify your info. So everything over here that you really mess with is along the side for the main categories. Info is all of the info that we just entered during the initial setup of the business. So you can see it's got my business name, which can be edited. It's got my categories and services, which can be edited. And in here, Google in the initial setup prompts you to select one core business category that you specialize in. When you do the actual back end of it and go to info and click edit there, you can add multiple categories. So so if you're doing some development stuff, you can do that. If you want to put yourself in as a real estate consultant, obviously that applies to most of you guys. Rental agency. So if you guys are running rentals, you can also add that category and help people find you that way. You've got your address. This is another thing here. This would be your service areas. So in your service areas, it is going to pull this. And if somebody in these areas or these surrounding areas are searching for you, this will allow you to populate those areas. So you definitely want to go through here, and obviously, at least for the lake, add all the local areas: Osage Beach, Laurie, Lake Ozark, Eldon, Versailles, Lynn Creek, all those areas. And then here's where you set your business hours. For most people, what I recommend, because I've seen some people where they put it as they're open 24 hours, you can put 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. You don't have to put 24 hours. In my opinion, it potentially encourages people to call you at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, potentially. So I'm sure most of you guys don't want to be taking calls at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I would definitely set some proper business hours. You can set special hours for like certain holidays, things like that. If your team or you as an agent are going to be out of town for 2 weeks, you can go in here and you can set that you're going to be closed for the next 2 weeks if you want to do that. I wouldn't really advise doing that. I just leave it open and obviously send it to another agent as a referral before I set it as closed and just did nothing for 2 or 3 weeks or a month while you're down in Florida over the winter or something like that. So you can put in your phone number here. You can do a short name, which would be like when you see a Twitter handle. So your short name would be like, in my case, at Ozark Tech or something like that if it's available. You can put a link to schedule appointments. So you can link your, like, if you're using Appointlet, you can schedule or link that there. And then somebody can go to your business profile and just schedule an appointment directly from Google. You can set the particular services you provide. And then this is kind of... No, oops, that was the wrong one. And then you can, once you add a basic category, you can add something custom. So, if you're specializing in luxury homes, you can add that specialty here. If you're specializing, whatever your specialty is here, you can essentially add it here if it doesn't find the basic category that you're looking for. So that really covers the info side of the business. Make sure that I've went through all of this. The other thing is adding photos. Adding photos is a kind of critical thing in Google Business. I went through a sit-down session with Google last year, and they stressed with Google My Business, and they stressed a few things. And I tested this, and I verified that it does work, and it will, at the My Business level, it will give you a 100% fold increase in business and traffic, as opposed to doing absolutely nothing, just creating this and letting it sit here. So creating the photos is one of the first things that I recommend you do to promote your business. If you've got a billboard up with your name on it, take a picture of the billboard, add it on Google My Business. Take a picture of the KW office that you work out of. If you've got a sold sign sitting out in front of somewhere, or, you put up a sign saying, you sold a property in 36 hours or whatever, you can add a picture of that sign on here to kind of give you some content. And that would be some good content in the case of a real estate agent, hey, here's a thing sold in 36 hours. If somebody's looking through real estate agents on Google and they happen to get to the point that they're clicking on photos, then obviously that may help them choose you over someone else. The next thing that I'm going to kind of get into is the post side of it. So what you can do with Google My Business is you can go to this post section, and you can see here, you can basically post on Google My Business just like you can post on Facebook. And really it's about the same thing. It's about customer engagement. Google, from what I have found with the My Business side of things, they actively promote businesses that have a few things in order on here. The first thing would be photos. The second thing would be regular post. What I found is the magic sweet spot for doing a post on Google My Business is about every 2 weeks. They technically expire every 14 days. They don't go away, but what Google does is they kind of factor that into their algorithm that you're not as active of a business, and they may promote your competition over you if you don't do a post on a regular basis. And these can be really simple things, a picture of the sunset. Do you want a sunset like this? Well, contact me today. You can, put on here, I closed this or had a accepted contract on this listing in 24 hours. List with me, get your property sold, just something to kind of hammer the point across, just like you do on Facebook. And you can add events. So, if you're going to be appearing at some other event, like you're going to be at the car show on the Strip, for example, you can add an event and say, Elysse Jinkens at the Magic Dragon car show, and you can have a tent there, and then that lets your customers know, hey, if you're at the car show, I'm going to have a tent there, and they may be more inclined to stop by and talk to you. But yes, I have found with the Google My Business that Google actively promotes businesses that are very active on here. So have your information right, have photos on Google My Business. You don't have to continually upload photos on a new basis or a regular basis. Just make sure you've got some photos on there, make sure it's more than a couple, and make sure that you're doing these posts every couple weeks. Make sure that your information's accurate. The other thing that Google gives you as part of this is the review platform. The reviews are, in my opinion, another critical aspect to your Google My Business in promoting you over other businesses. If Google in their algorithm, if they see that you have, 31 5-star reviews and your Google My Business profile's in order, they are going to promote you over a business that has no Google reviews, has no Google photos, has no post on Google. It doesn't, to some extent, traffic does matter, but for the most part, the thing that's going to give you guys a start in Google My Business is being a regular, active poster with the post and the reviews. Encourage your customers to leave reviews.
Can I ask a question about the reviews real quick?
Yeah.
Say you have reviews on like realtor.com or Zillow. Is there a way to get those to come over to this, or do they have to be made by like that customer through their Google account onto Google My Business?
That's my understanding of the way that Google manages it currently, is that it has to be tied to a Google user, and it has to be done through Google's platform. There is, you can, if I'm correct, you can link your Facebook to your Google My Business, and then if people are reviewing you on Facebook, it can potentially pull the reviews from there. But Facebook is kind of a very similar system. They want it tied to a user account. They want it tied to a person with an email address and verifiable information. That's what gives these a little bit of credibility over your average review on Amazon or something like that, is that it has to be done by essentially a verified user.
And that's just to cut down on like fraud and stuff for all those people that, like, if I went on Tiffany's Google My Business account, I could leave a review as me, but if I were signed in under her trying to leave multiple reviews as fake people, that wouldn't really be an actual reflection of how many stars or actual reviews we had.
Yeah, and Google, their algorithms with this stuff is very advanced. If they pick up that you're intentionally doing fake reviews, creating Google accounts to push in reviews and things like that, they have methods to pick up on this stuff. They are very good at it, and they will completely blacklist your My Business listing. So definitely don't go that route. Try to go the organic route. You know, in my opinion, if you guys have to throw a small incentive in it for your customers, it's worth it. If, you know, a $50 Baxter's gift card at the end of a transaction gets you a Google review, whereas it wouldn't have got you a Google review without the $50 gift card, you know, somebody who's got a lot of volume and is bringing in revenue, it might be worth it to throw out a gift card or something to encourage people to leave reviews for your business.
I'm not certain we can do that in the state of Missouri.
Are there some legalities? Keep in mind, Gerald's not a realtor or has gone through those schools. He's our IT person. So if you guys have legal guidelines for reviews, definitely put that in.
Yeah, I know some of the other businesses that I've worked with in the past on Google My Business. Obviously, in my business, there's nothing preventing me from incentivizing reviews. I've helped some people that do property management on this lake, and there's nothing preventing them from saying, hey, you know, if you leave a review of your previous stay with us, we'll give you a free day on your next stay with us. So in a lot of businesses, that is allowed. Obviously, I would check and see exactly what you can get away with. But in my opinion, the reviews, if you have to incentivize reviews to get them, hold on, I've got a few questions here. Okay, so Martin, a few minutes ago, can you give your admin access? Oh, can you give your admin access? Yes, there is a way in Google My Business to add users. So what you can do here, let me move this out of the way. So you can add users. You would type in their Gmail address, and then you would choose their role. Their role depends on what they can do. Owner is going to allow you to do everything in Google My Business that you can do. Manager, I believe, will allow you to update information, post, things like that, but it will not allow you to close the business. Site Manager more than likely is just going to allow you to post on Google My Business, respond to reviews and things like that. Obviously, they right here next to it, they will let you detail the roles and figure out exactly what those do. Having issues getting it to recognize any service areas. I have never seen that issue, but what we can do is we can go back and we can try to add another service area.
I was using my phone, Gerald, just so you know, and I tried zip codes and I tried typing it in exactly as I saw it on your page.
So let's just try it on this front real quick and see what we get. So it looked like that let me do that. If you're trying it on your phone, there can be a lot of variations between phones and how they work. I would highly recommend it to try it on the desktop computer side of things in Google Chrome. Obviously, Google My Business is a Google product. Google Chrome is a Google product to some extent, just like how Command works better in Chrome. Chrome's kind of the main browser nowadays, and they have built their products and services to work better when using their other products and services.
Okay. I'll do that on the computer and see that I can get that in there. I mean, I've had a page forever. I don't know how I missed that. It was really cool using the phone, though, because you can just text out to your clients to do a review. So that's pretty freaking awesome.
That's the other thing that Tiffany brought up here is multiple Google My Business listings. You can have multiple listings. So if you know I wouldn't necessarily, you know, if you're working out of the 42 office and the HH office, I wouldn't necessarily create a listing for each of them. That does kind of clutter up the listings for real estate agents. But if you've got another area that you're working out of to some extent, you know, you do some work out of St. Louis and you've got an address that you can use as a base there, I go ahead and do it. It's definitely not a bad thing. What I have seen some people do that is a bad thing is I have seen some people where they list personal addresses. And I would never list a personal address in a Google My Business listing, just solely out of the fact of it may cause unwanted traffic to stop by by that property. And if it's not a business, you may not want that there. You can create a Google My Business listing and not have an address to it. So my business listing here, I didn't originally have an address tied to it. However, I do have an office there at the HH office, so I did tie that to that. It obviously looks better if you've got a business address, but if you're trying to get your presence out somewhere, create those listings if you're doing business in St. Louis. Create those listings if you know you're doing business somewhere else where you can create another one and possibly drive more traffic. Another question here, is there a link that can be shared to request reviews for a particular business? Really, the easiest way to do that is to send them a link directly to your Google My Business listing. So when you search for a business, you can click on that business there. And then this is really about as close as you can actually get to a link to take somebody directly to your reviews, is you just link them to the business, say, hey, leave a review, send them this link here, or you can use a URL shortener like bit.ly to shorten it to make it something where you're not sending this big, huge URL in an email. That would be really my best recommendation on that. And then you can see here, once I've got this page up, you can click write a review. And as long as that person has a Google account, they can leave a review. The person does have to have a Google account to leave a review. So I know nowadays most everybody has a Google account. Obviously, there's a few people that don't. They're still using Yahoo. They have an iPhone, and iCloud's been working fine for them, so they just don't have a Google account. But yeah, that's the only thing to it. You can use this link here. Once you type in a business name and click that business name, you can use this link here to link directly to a business, and then just encourage people to go down to write a review.
On the app, there's also a URL that you can copy and paste to text out. Like I just texted out every single one of my clients, and it had pre-designated text that came with the link when I copied it. Give me just a second and I'll read it off. It was, capture the lake photography, would love your feedback, post a review on our profile, and then it had a direct link with my background picture. So there is also a way to send them, you know, through a text message or something versus mandatory, like do it on a computer way.
The other thing is, another thing that you can do with this data to try to get these reviews is a MailChimp campaign. You know, if you've got a list of clients that you've sold property in the last 2 years, create a MailChimp campaign. Hey, I know you bought a property from me or sold a property with me. Please leave a review on Google about me. You know, if 2 or 3 people do it, out of 300 even, obviously it's going to be well worth your time, because if you didn't have reviews before and now you've got 3 reviews, that's going to give you a one-up on potentially someone else. Let's see your other questions. The issue I found when using the office location is hard to get it pinned because so many have pinned that address. I have not ran into that particular problem, and you have to go pretty deep in the creation of a business to get it to do that. The only thing that I could do is I could mess around with that and kind of get back with you on that particular issue. Locations or areas that do not currently have a KW office. Okay, so yeah, I mean, that makes sense what Tiffany said there as well, is that there's not a KW office in the places where she posted them, and it can potentially help drive some traffic to KW and you as an agent that you didn't have before. I would advise some caution with this. Once again, Google has some very advanced algorithms, and if they detect that, you know, you're going everywhere where there's not one of those offices and you're just throwing up a listing for random towns that you have no association with, then Google may start blocking your listings and blocking your ability to create Google My Business listings. Their algorithm is very smart. Google has a lot of data on most people that use their products and services. So, you know, if Elysse goes and starts creating Google My Business listings in Branson and Arkansas and all these other places, and her phone has Google services on it, including location services, and it's like, well, hey, why are you creating a business in Branson? You've never been to Branson. And if it sees you doing that a dozen times, it may trip something in their system, and they may start blocking your listings that you've already created, or completely block you from creating new Google My Business listings under that account.
I can assure you, Google has a lot of data on me. Everything I have is Google. My little office speaker, my phone is a Google phone. Like, they have data.
I have seen some scenarios with Google where that protection is actually kind of a little bit overly thorough. We'll just leave it at that. There's been some listings that I've created for people that I've worked with, and those Google profiles got completely legitimate, had them get blocked multiple times, had to contact Google support, go through the whole routine to get these things reinstated because they were in fact legitimate business. And for some reason, Google didn't see that. I just got a question. Where do you enter business locations in the profile? That would be under info. So when you go under info, you're going to see your name, your few core categories there, and your address. And when you do this, oh, we do have the drag. Oh. So yeah, in my case, it seems like it lets me drag the pin around perfectly fine. This may be different than the initial setup. I could see where there could be some issues on the initial setup, so I'll check that at a later point. But at least in here, it seems to work fine. Once again, I highly recommend using Google Chrome to manage this on a laptop or a desktop computer. These mobile devices, they are getting really close to offering the same experience that you get on a normal computer, but there still is a few things dividing them. I've seen a bunch of times recently where I still have to pull out a computer to do something because it's simpler to make it work through Google Chrome on a desktop or a laptop versus trying to do something on your phone. So that's one thing I would definitely keep in mind. And then I think we're going to leave that alone for now. I think I've covered everything. And I'm going to turn it over to Elysse. Oh, actually, there is one other thing I want to cover before I turn it over. So I believe, oh, no, we're going to go. Now that's just going to walk you through the whole thing again. There is an option to import. So if you're working out of a lot of areas, you can import, but I'm not quite sure how that works. If anybody needs any help on that, you can get with me on it. We can try to figure it out together. I just haven't had anybody that needs to do that yet. So if there is a need for that, let me know. So one last thing real quick, under create a post, I just wanted to show these create a post options. So in this case here, let's just use what's new. So you can very simply upload a photo in here. From here, you can write your post. If you are closing transactions quickly and you want to share that, you can add a picture here of a close sign. Hey, we're closing transactions in 26 days on average, yada, yada, whatever text you want to write, and then you can add a button. So this button can do multiple things. It can lead people to your website via Learn More. And then that link you could put to your webpage. So you could Learn More, could send them directly to ElysseJenkins.kw.com. Call Now obviously is pretty self-explanatory. Some of these things obviously aren't going to apply in real estate. You can't order a house online, things like that. So obviously be cautious on the category you check, make sure it's all relevant and good information, and you'll have a lot of success with your.
So if you do book, that would link to your Google Calendar. So if they booked an appointment, you would get notified.
I think book. So like book, for example, if under info, there was an option to attach an appointment service to it. Book, you would, in our cases, put your like appointment URL in there, and then they could book an appointment to meet with you through that. And that might be something that's valuable. If you've got a lot of people finding you on Google, you've went through this and you've succeeded and you're getting a lot of traffic from it, it might be worth, creating an appointment and using Appointlet to manage and book appointments with people and things like that. But yep, that's really all I have. If anybody's got any questions real quick, I'll cover those. If not, I will turn it over to Elysse.
Hey, has anyone used the, darn it, it left it. So anyway, I just wondered if anyone had claimed their $100 free Google stuff and used it.
The Google AdSense.
Yeah, they give you $100 or whatever.
I not to my knowledge. I know I haven't. The only business I've only worked with one business that actually runs Google AdWords. It can be kind of pricey to do. Usually the entry level price points, as I mentioned, are $250 to $350 a month, but that's all depending on what keywords you're advertising. So if you're going for something pretty vague like real estate Lake of the Ozarks, something that a lot of people are typing into Google, what Google AdWords is a cost per click advertising system. So when somebody types in real estate Lake Ozark and you appear at the top and somebody clicks on that result, you're paying Google for that. And it depends on the words that you're targeting on how much Google's going to charge you. And you also can kind of set parameters on what you're willing to pay for certain keywords and things like that. However, with Google AdWords, some vague terms that a lot of people are searching for can get very expensive. So real estate, Lake Ozarks, if you're targeting that, you could potentially be paying $2 or $3 a click. And if it's not set up right, the way that a lot of this is looked at is your click-through rate. So the percentage of people that are clicking on that ad that are doing business with you. And if your click-through rate's bad, you're looking at a 30% click-through rate where only 30% of those people that click that are even giving you a call, and you're spending $2 or $3 per click. It can be something that can easily get out of hand. What I found in some of the previous businesses that I've managed, target certain project developments, Tantera, Lodge of the Four Seasons, just these common terms that a lot of people are searching for that aren't going to be as expensive as real estate Lake Ozark or realtor Lake Ozark. Because on a lot of these terms, you're competing with other people. You're essentially bidding against other people that are interested in doing this. And I can tell you there is a few realtors down here on the lake that do use Google AdWords.
So if you're doing that, the areas and developments that you're targeting, pair that with where you're farming. If you're sending out letters or postcards, pair those two things so that those people are seeing your name often.
Okay, got that. So the other thing I've found very helpful, and I've had a couple leads come through, is Yelp. And Yelp has free setup as well. So, or you can pay for something. I actually did a 30-day trial with them and had like three leads within the first 2 days.
Yeah, Yelp can be kind of hit or miss. They really play up their service like it is an extremely used service. And if you're talking on the phone with one of their salesmen, they'll tell you it's the greatest thing on earth. It's not. It's another platform to get yourself out there. Some people do use Yelp. Some people do use it. And if you're the only one out there, you're one of 2 or 3 people out there, it will potentially lead to you getting a little bit of business. A lot more people do use Google than use Yelp. So a proper Google My Business profile that's managed, updated on a regular basis in my opinion, will give you more traffic than simply just having a Yelp profile and try to draw in traffic from that. Before Keller Williams and Four Seasons Realty merged, I took over managing their Google My Business page, and just from actually regularly posting content, making sure the information was up to date, and things like that, we went from having, potentially a couple thousand people looking for us and finding us a month to, in some cases, 25, 30,000 people finding us a month. So if you're something that's in hot demand and you manage your profile right on here, you can get a lot of business from it.
Well, I like free, so anything free I'm in on.
Yeah, the My Business is completely free. It's once you get into the AdWords, it can get a little pricey. So.
Do we have any other questions for Gerald before he relinquishes control to me? All right, I'm going to take a super quick dive into branding. The Google My Business totally ran further than we thought it would, and that's fantastic because it seems to be a topic that you guys want a lot of education about. So we will look into other ways to educate everyone about the Google services that we can use for free, especially with the Keller Williams platform, because Keller Williams provides the Google G Suite for you, which gives you a lot of different things. So we'll start trying to feature some of those things that you get with your monthly office fee, so that you guys can start utilizing them more. So what you're looking at right now on your screen is what I use to make social media posts. It is Adobe Spark. It comes with your Photoshop or a Lightroom subscription. This is what I use to brand all of the agents that I work with. You can see a list of them based on folders up here. So some of you have subscribed to the Keller Williams YouTube channel, and in talking about branding, I kind of wanted you to see the difference. Like when I started taking over, when things get posted on this and what the thumbnail looks like, you can see a clear definition of when that happened because everything started to look the same. Now there are subtle changes, like obviously the scripts have a different title than the Take Command of Your Business, and then the quick tips for the videos that are, I usually try to cut that off at 10 minutes. If it's more than 10 minutes long, it doesn't get put under the quick tips guidelines there. But you can see how even just that makes our channel look a lot more professional than it did when we were just using the Zoom things. And it also tells your people what the video that they're looking for is about. So we were having an issue with people not knowing where to look, like they weren't knowing what video was what, just because it wasn't very clear what things were. Another thing that I wanted to show you guys in branding is, I know virtual walkthroughs are a huge thing. If you hire someone to do that, make sure that they are posting to your YouTube channel, not their own. This is not to grow their business. You're investing in their business by hiring them. That video needs to be in your possession so that you can post it onto your YouTube channel and brand yourself. This is Katie Speckley. I love her. She is one of the people that I follow to stay up to date on what's happening in social media. Now, I don't watch every single video that she has, but every once in a while there's a really good one that catches my eye. Instagram is something that I really struggle with. I don't really see the point of it versus Facebook, and I think that's a mutual feeling between a lot of us. So I kind of watch her stuff to get filled in on what's new on Instagram and the things that they're doing to kind of separate themselves from the rest of the social media world. And then also what you'll find is things that Instagram implements will be implemented throughout other social media as well. So it kind of keeps you up to date on what social media in general, where they're going, what they're planning on doing, and whatnot. Another one is Social Media Examiner. Let me get rid of my notifications here. Social Media Examiner. They kind of go into more in-depth, like if you're really trying to go down the social media strategy hole here with me, with the rabbit hole, they go real into depth about branding yourself and branding all of your marketing and having a specific strategy, like creating your own hashtag. And if you follow my photography company, Capture the Lake Photography, you'll notice that something that I use every single time I post on there is the hashtag Capture Life. And it was one that not very many people had used. So if you search Capture Life, you're going to see dominantly my posts from the houses that we've taken pictures of, or artwork that's been found in the houses that I really liked that I wanted to feature on Instagram. So those are my YouTube tips here. So I don't need that, and I don't need that. Okay, so this is a local agent, well, kind of local, Clayton, Missouri, who brands himself as a luxury agent. This is something that I wanted to show you guys. He is with Better Homes and Gardens. We'll try not to judge him too harshly there, but he has a certain image. He lives his social media life like his life is for this brand right here. He is this in person. Literally, he understands that every single thing that you put out in the world is branding you. So he's living that. His son is involved in all of this as well. You can see his son right here, but he dresses like this every day. He goes out to dinner all the time. He gets Starbucks like 5 times a day. But he posts all of that, and it's all to have that luxury brand like in people's mind. Like they just, when they think of luxury, they think of him because he lives this lifestyle on social media. This is probably a Starbucks one. He posts political stuff, which I would strongly discourage. But you know, this is his social media. A fancy Gucci watch, you know, just things like this to brand yourself. Now, if you're not trying to brand yourself in the luxury lifestyle and you're just trying to make yourself look more down to earth, do things like that you would consider down to earth and show those little aspects of yourself, but also keep it professional. And this is why having a professional profile, like a professional business page versus a personal page, is really important. If you look at my business profile on Facebook, this is geared toward recruiting, specifically towards recruiting real estate agents. I'm very actively trying to recruit for my downline right now. So you'll see I got a picture of the lake. This is actually our cove. I have my professional headshot. We have how to nurture your inner circle. That's something that a lot of people don't know how to do very well. And I want people to know, hey, Keller Williams is offering this amazing training. So when we have training videos that really show how being with us can make you a better agent, I put those on here. And I also share some things about the lake because I want people engaged, you know, people that aren't already agents. I want them to be like, well, my gosh, she just makes being a real estate agent look fantastically fun. I have questions about that. I want to live a life similar to that. So I try to have that image here. For those of you that don't know, I'm also on the board of a nonprofit. That nonprofit is Lanai, which is Local Area Needs Initiative. I'm the secretary on that board. So that's something that I also use in my marketing, like this post right here. The Bagnell Dam Association of Realtors, which is part of my marketing, is wanting people that want to be realtors. And also people, it's something in their mind when you are a volunteer for something, they really like that image. So I'm combining two of those things in this post that will help them connect it all. I have a little bit of humor in there with this person trying to back a trailer with two people leading it down the boat ramp, and local events to make it look like I'm not quite always in my house. It looks like I go out places because I share other people's posts on the strip and the activities in the area. I wanted to show you where I build my brands, which is again in Adobe Spark. You can do this in Canva or wherever you're at. All of these platforms that make social media, they will all be similar to this. Now, the reason that you can't see more in these, like Lanai, you can't see the wording, and KW, you can't see the wording, it's just because the wording's white on the first logo that I upload, the main logo. Like this Tiffany Servant Realty one, that logo is white right there. Ozarks Rural Health Network, Gerald and I both work with them. I do their social media, well, some of their social media, and creating their events that they have. They have free free training for counselors multiple times a month. I think that's a wonderful thing. The counselors have to have the hours legally anyways, but to offer it for free, I think is a huge benefit to, especially like school counselors where there's not funding for them to go take the training that they need. So if we look at my brand, you can see that I have both logo colors here, the white one and the black one. I've purposely kept it to those colors. My color scheme is gray, black, and white because those go good with any real estate pictures you're ever going to take. So I also chose my two fonts that I really like that go with my brand. One of them is the actual font that's used on my logo, and then the other one's just an additional one to kind of accent. And then my color scheme is here. So when you're building a brand, you really need to finalize some things like what font do you want to use a lot, and what color scheme do you want to use a lot, because those things, when people see like that text, they're gonna, even if they don't really notice that they're doing it subconsciously, they're gonna be like, oh, this looks like something that, you know, this looks like something that Capture the Lake Photography would have posted. And then lo and behold, oh look, their logo's there on the bottom. Let's go to a different brand real quick. My Keller Williams brand. The red is a little bit off. That is something that I need to tweak because it looks a little bit pink here. But when I set it up on my phone, I had a less color accurate screen and it looked more like the regular KW red. But this number right here, you can find on Google. If you just Google the Keller Williams hex color, and then you can just type that color, this KW red right here, directly in, and it will pull that red specifically so that we match that brand. And I will be changing that after this video. But here's some other just color schemes so that you can set, you know, your parameters. Let's see, Tiffany's. We were mimicking Tiffany blue, and this is the hex color for Tiffany Jewelry Company blue. So we have that on there. We have several different logos. Same kind of basic stuff, but you want to be using the same color scheme no matter where you're at.
So, Elysse, are we allowed to stray away from the red, black, and gray that Keller Williams, I mean, I know when we do our business cards and everything, they're supposed to be approved by Connie, and she has told us to stick with the red, black, white, and gray.
For business cards, I do, but like for our under contract and stuff posts, if we all with how many do we have? Almost 160 agents. If we all do that, it's all going to look like we're all doing the same thing. So like our under contract stuff, I have these that it's a set template that I use every single time. I don't have to rebuild this every time that we have a contract that goes under contract. Every time we have a property that goes under contract, I just change this picture right here, and then I change the address to match. And I've been doing this for several months and nobody's had an issue with it. Legally, The only thing that you have to have is if your phone number is listed, you have to list our office and the office phone number.
Right. I love that color Tiffany's using. So,
Well,
I mean, yeah, I don't always stick with a certain color on some of my social media either.
and it's good to change it up. Like the sold one, you'll notice my sold one is a little bit darker, but it's still in that same area of colors, but it's darker so that when you're looking at our feed, I can pull that up real quick. When you're, see now I don't have those on this because I am not a licensed agent, so I do not make it look like I am advertising real estate because I don't want to be told by the board when I do go to be a realtor that I'm going to be getting some fines. So I very much so stray away from that on my personal business page. But this is one of our agents, Mark Easley. He is on Tiffany's team, and you can see the sold one here, sold, but then the under contract's a little bit lighter, and that's just so that it doesn't become this big washout of all of the same colored postings. This is one of our reviews. That was a review off of a real estate site. Somebody was gracious enough to leave us one there, but because it wasn't made on Facebook, I couldn't just put it, you know, in the review section on Facebook. So I took it, made a post out of it, and you could do the same thing to your Google account, your Google My Business. You can take this post right here, picture, and you could post that to your Google My Business as a picture or a post. And that's another way of getting, of getting your reviews from another site onto, you know, your Google platform or your Facebook. And that's, you know, the color difference is so that it's on the same color scheme, but then it's also, you know, just a little bit different so that it doesn't all look the same. Now you can see this here. For a while I was doing them like this. This one was made using Command. We decided to brand it a little bit differently. We didn't really like the colors that Command restricted you to. This is pre-made in Command. This one is, and you can tell, like right here, I have the URL for Mark's KW app, so that if anybody saw this and wanted to download it, since this download my app button looking thing is not actually clickable, I made sure that the app URL was right there, and you can see it's taking me straight to what I would need to do to get it. I can enter my phone number right here, and there we go. It also has a video about how to, you know, kind of an overview of what it is and what it does. So those are some things you also need to be looking at, incorporating. And if you have, you know, the different color scheme, you can add some of those Keller Williams specified made posts, and then those stand out, like the Keller Williams mortgage ones. If those are the only red ones that we do, people are going to take notice to that. And I think it's good to break up your colors once in a while, but then also keep your personal branding at like the same as much as you can. I know that's a lot in just a few minutes. Does anybody have branding questions? This is something we've gone into a couple of times. There's a lot out there on YouTube, so ask away.
I'd just like to get that organized.
Well, okay, so I wouldn't be if I didn't have the ability to make folders. Oh, that's not the folder I wanted. But
so how much does this Adobe Spark run?
I'm not sure how much it runs just by itself. I actually needed to buy video editing software and photo editing software, and this came with it because I was buying Photoshop, Lightroom, and Rush Premiere from Adobe. And where, if you already have Adobe, you can go to the Adobe Creative Cloud. Let me move this over. This is what the Adobe Creative Cloud looks like. And like, here's all the apps that you can have mobile. If it says desktop, for the desktop ones, like my computer is not compatible with this Fresco. It'll tell you why. Something about my graphics card. And This is the video editing software. This is my photo editing software. I basically only use Lightroom. I use Photoshop to design logos and stuff. Lightroom Classic, if you're more familiar with that. But the Adobe program is like the bee's knees, man, if you're editing your own pictures and whatnot. Gerald, is that the hex code for Keller Williams, the B40101?
Yep.
Perfect. So if you want to copy and paste that, you can put that into whatever software you're using. The Gen A is a different one. What the heck's yours called? I always forget.
Well, I am a fan of RIPL.com, Ripple.com.
Yep.
$15 a month. It does all my posts on everything when I create it in my phone. Takes me about 30 seconds. And it saves what you create. You can even email it to yourself and use it places that you can't send it to. So it's my iPhone is pretty much my camera. So it's just the easiest and most simplistic thing for me.
Yes, ma'am. Now, another thing that some of you need to keep in mind is invite all of your Facebook friends on like a regular monthly basis to follow the pages that you create content for. You know, I know Jennifer's an assistant for the grind team. If she's on Facebook creating content for them, there is something just awesome about sharing your role in that team and sharing that experience with your friends. Like, no, I'm helping this person make money. Like, they're using the content that I create to them to generate an income. And it's really awesome to share that with your friends and family. And it sparks some conversations that can definitely benefit your downline. Another app that is really good if you're managing multiple pages. So like for me, since I have our whole Tiffany Servant Realty team, that's 7 people right there, 7 business profiles. I use the Facebook business page app, and I can easily switch between the profiles. I can schedule out posts if I want. Like if I know we have a closing at the end of this week, I know for sure it's closing. I'll go ahead and create that. And I set them to go out at strategic times. Like there's one that's going to be going out today at 6 p.m. because that's a peak time for people to be on Facebook. Just things like that. That it's all, I mean, you could get really deep into this branding and marketing stuff if you really wanted to. There's a lot of research out there on it. And every once in a while, I just pick a random YouTube video and educate myself a little bit more on it. That's all it is. It's just trying to stay up to date, and once in a while just kind of taking a refresher course. I don't want to steal too much more of your day. I know we ran a little bit over, so I want to make sure that everyone can still get to their day and not be behind because of a meeting. So if there's any questions, Gerald and I are happy to answer them.
I just put in there on the little chat how important it is to find your other KW mates and like their pages and like their post and keep pushing KW as widely as possible in front of Remax and our other competitors.
Oh yeah. And you know, our office, something that I really love about our branch office specifically is that family atmosphere. You know, we haven't gathered together in months. We haven't been able to since we did the Four Seasons rollover, just because that and COVID hit like literally within the same 2 weeks. But we still have that family atmosphere. Like I share any KW post that I see, like my friends are brainwashed with KW, I'm sure. It's all about that team effort, you know, the passive income, building your downline. You're not going to get those checks on the 21st if our company dollar isn't really high. And the only way to do that is to promote each other. All right. I think we're probably going to end it there. This video will be on YouTube by this afternoon sometime. So if if there was a part of it, I know there's some parts of Gerald going through the Google My Business that I'm going to be implementing. I love it when he shares this stuff because I always learn something when he talks about this stuff. So if you guys have questions about this, please email either one of us. We'll send them back, to the right person if it's not a question that we can answer. And if there's questions that you have, sorry, my sock was falling off. If there's questions that you guys have about other things in Google or branding, whatever, let us know, because it's probably a topic that we want to cover, but we don't know if anyone's interested in doing it.
Hey, Elysse.
Yes, ma'am.
Just one more thing. It is really important for everyone to get their Google Analytics, whatever they call that number, in places where it needs to be. So I know Gerald and you know all about that. So make sure agents get that out there, get that in their systems.
Yeah, the Google Analytics. Gerald, doesn't that also work with the command websites?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe the next one that we do next month will be a dive into that and how to connect it, and then what the results mean.
Yeah, and the Facebook pixels number too.
Okay, cool. We will take note, and we'll try to throw something together for that within the next month.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Gerald.
I also just added a KW Answers article in the comments on how to actually add that to command. If anybody has any questions on that, let me know.
Perfect.
All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful rest of your week. We're only halfway through the week. I'm used to Friday videos.